So if there's a priest who is ordained after Traditionis Custodes, because Traditionis Custodes said that the restrictions apply to the Mass and not just public celebration of the Mass, they would need permission. You are arguing that they would need permission before they can celebrate a Mass without a congregation. That's the Latin Mass.
Well, because Traditionis Custodes, the references to the celebrants, not to the Mass in of itself. The celebrant is the one who needs the permission granted by his diocesan bishop, who has first gotten permission to do that from the Congregation for the Divine Worship.
Okay, and then so for the priests ordained before Traditionis Custodes, is any priest allowed to celebrate a traditional Latin Mass without a congregation?
Yeah, the provisions of Summorum Pontificum, if I remember correctly, granted that right to priests apart from any permission from their bishop, so they didn't need permission. And it was the descriptive of Mass without a congregation assumes that there's going to be a server. So it's strictly speaking, not himself by himself. The law foresees that someone will be there to serve, to give the responses. But without a congregation, that's the general understanding of a private Mass. Now, there are some canonists, I think, who would argue that a private Mass is to be distinguished from a public Mass in the sense it's not announced, it's not celebrated, where access is granted to the public in general. So therefore, you could invite family and friends to that private celebration of the Mass. I think that's a legitimate interpretation. But again, the language of a private Mass is not strictly speaking canonical. It's a colloquialism. And if you look in the Roman Missal, there is for the new Mass, there's a section where it's the Ordo Missae with only a server. So that is, strictly speaking, how in the new Missal, it's that type of celebration is designated.
Can a local bishop ban Mass, the traditional Latin Mass, without a congregation?
Traditionis Custodes does not say that, and therefore the provisions of Summorum Pontificum still apply, in as much as Summorum Pontificum was not abrogated in its entirety. Sections were abrogated. So I think the bishop would be acting beyond his power if the Pope has granted a permission. The local bishop, unless the Pope has given him that power, cannot overrule what was done.
That makes sense, because Summorum Pontificum has established a certain amount of rules. Traditionis Custodes undid a certain number of those rules, but where you're saying it didn't undo the permission to celebrate, or the permission of a priest without their bishop's permission to celebrate a Mass without a congregation.
Right, because Summorum Pontificum didn't require permission of the bishop to celebrate Mass with a public Mass either. It simply stated that there had to be a certain number of the faithful who were requesting it. So therefore, it was at the discretion of the priest. That was the whole point of Summorum Pontificum, because under the previous legislations, Ecclesia Dei, and there were other documents, the Holy See was relying on local bishops to grant this permission, and when they were denying it, priests were then having recourse to the Ecclesia Dei Commission saying we can't get permission, yet people want this. So Summorum Pontificum was designed to grant that freedom. So unless that's specifically taken away, then it still remains. Now, it's clear that Traditionis Custodes does grant powers for to restrict the celebration of the Mass in public. That is clear. They forbid it in parish churches, for instance. But the regulation of the Mass said in private, unless I've forgotten what the provisions are, it's not treated.